Okay, so here we are with the Liga Privada L40 Lancero, which I believe has been out, from everything I've read on the internet, it's been out for roughly, well, 10 years now at the time of filming. But I've been very intrigued with this cigar, and I have the only thing I've really read about a lot of is the fact it's 7x40, it's a Lancero size, which I like a Lancero, like a Lonsdale, that thinner ring gauge, longer cigar. So this was a very intriguing cigar for me to try and smoke, and so there it is there. What else? Okay, so the wrapper's Connecticut River Valley Stock Cut Sun Grown Habano. That's a mouthful, isn't it? And of course we got what the binder is, a Brazilian Matafina. The filler is Honduran and Nicaragua, and its country of manufacture is Nicaragua because it's Drew Estates. So, and another thing too is I'm really not a big fan of most of the Drew Estates stuff that's out there in the Liga area, just because it's so heavy and peppery and just too much, too strong of a cigar. So as far as it goes for the Liga line of cigars, I kind of like the, I don't really like them that much. So anyway, this one, I figured I'd give it a shot and see how it smokes. So anyway, let's get a cutter, cut this thing up. And a light. So right out the gate, there's a little bit of pepper, but it's not like that overwhelming, really heavy, girthy pepper. And I understand how there's people out there that really like that heavy, really thick mouthfeel, and they don't really care about what's going through the nose. And I respect them for that. That's just, we're all different, right? So we all have different tastes of things that we want. But for me, I don't mind a heavy, thick mouthfeel. I just don't like it when it just goes through my nose and it feels like it's the nose of fire, right? So there's a little bit of that fire in there, but it's not so bad starting out. So that's pretty good. As you can see, there's like plenty of thick, oily smoke coming off of the wrapper of this cigar. Yeah, so it's definitely, as far as the smoke production goes and the construction wise and so on and so forth with this cigar, it looks like it's pretty good. And like I said, it's not doing that really heavy kind of a peppery fire in the nose, which is quite welcomed. And another thing about this thing too is I'm kind of getting like a bit of a grittiness on my teeth. When I clench my teeth together, there's a bit of like grit, and I don't know, I mean, I think, what is it, people have talked about that. I was talking with the guy, and he was saying that grittiness is because the primings of the tobacco were from the lower part of the plant, and so they got dust on them or whatever. I don't know. All I know is that it's a little bit crunchy and gritty on my teeth, so that's a little off-putting, but it's not really that big of a deal. Yeah. So it's a little bit chocolatey, a little bit earthy. I don't know. I mean, wow, this smoke coming off this is insane. It does have that kind of like a peppery, spicy pepper in the nose and on the tongue and on the roof of the mouth. So it's got that going on too as well. But all in all, it's not too bad. It's at least it's not killing my nose, which is a good thing. So I am really liking the fact that it's the smoke production on this thing is just, there's copious amounts of smoke with very little effort. Yeah, the construction right now so far has just been spot on. And as you can see on the burn line on this cigar, it's been pretty straight, which is good. But that's something I kind of expect with a lot of New World cigars, or non-Cuban, whatever you want to call it, is that the construction on those cigars seems to be better. Although I've been smoking a lot of non-Cuban stuff, and there has been a few that, some of the Aganorsa leaf stuff, some of the stuff by Kyle Gillis, the warped stuff, some of that stuff there, it'll have a really open draw. And the cigar starting out will be really good, a really nice draw starting out on the cigar, and then I'll get about halfway in, and it becomes a really big struggle to actually try and get a bunch of to get any smoke out of the cigar, and the draw is wide open. So I'm kind of baffled as to why that's happening. But some of the Aganorsa Signature Series stuff that I've been smoking, the like I said, some of the Guardian of the Farm stuff that I've been smoking, that it's just been kind of, like I said, you get about halfway into the cigar and there's nothing there. It's really weird because the draw is open. I mean, when you pull on the cigar, there's plenty of air coming in, but it just, you know, and maybe I could chalk that up to maybe humidification possibly, or whatever. I need to maybe tweak different types of humidity in there, but right now that's what's happening. Yeah, so right now the pepper is basically non-existent. It's really not there. It's got a nice baking spice with the kind of a chocolatey, cocoa-y kind of a vibe on there in the retro, and on the palate as well. And it's just like kind of a thick, chewy kind of a smoke, more oily. It's coating the palate. It's very heavy coating the palate, but it's not off-putting. And like I said, the one thing that really puts me off a lot is the fact that there's that pepper, and that pepper pretty much has gone away. It's non-existent. It's just kind of a rich, creamy, chewy, chocolatey kind of an experience right now, which is good. It's kind of a nice, it's a nice thing to have on this thing, which is good. So. Bit of a savory note in there too as well. So anyway, this is going to be a bit of a time commitment. It's a Lancero, so 7 inches by 40. So anyway, I'm going to smoke this thing down to the band, and I'll be back with the tasting notes. Whew. Back here with the tasting notes on the Liga Privada L40 Lancero. So like I said, the cigar started out with that chocolate note in it. The chocolate note was the predominant note throughout the entire cigar. It was that grittiness on the teeth, that pepper that came up, which dissipated as the cigar developed in the first third. As the cigar developed in the first third, there was that chocolate and the pepper that dissipated, but there was a kind of a nice baking spice that came up in the retro and on the finish in the palate with that chocolate. And there was a hint of a woodiness in there as well as the cigar developed in the first third and burned into the second third. So the cigar became, in the second third, the cigar had that woodiness in there and that baking spice with that chocolate, which was almost like a Mexican chocolate in there. So the cigar was really not a super sweet cigar, but it was very savory. And it did have a little bit of a sweetness in there, but it wasn't a super sweet cigar. The finish on the palate in the beginning was about a medium, and as the cigar burned down into the second third, the finish started to get a lot stronger. It was about a medium plus on the finish on the palate, with that creamy smoke on there, the oiliness on the palate. It really started to develop and becoming more and more of a full finish on the palate. As the cigar burned down through the second third and the last third, that finish on the palate really became full. There was that woodiness in there, which kind of tamped back a bit Still had that baking spice with that chocolate in there, which was really nice. The cigar did become a little bit more savory, less sweet on the last third here, and like I said, the finish on the palate really became quite full. There was a bit of a pepper that came up as well in the end, but it wasn't too off-putting. It was just kind of like more like a white pepper that developed in the last third. But all in all, as far as it goes for a Liga, this cigar definitely is, to me, it's different from the other ones. It wasn't as punchy. It was a lot smoother, had a bit of complexity there, some nice balance to it as well, but definitely not like a normal Liga. It was quite nice. As far as going for a box purchase on this thing, which I did buy a box of them, and I would buy another box of these cigars over any other of the Ligas out there, definitely, for sure. And just to get all that stuff out of the way, if you can subscribe to the channel, whoop, right there, whoop, there, yeah. Subscribe to the channel, that would be nice. And I started a Facebook group as opposed to the Facebook page. So if you want to go over there, you can find it. It's a private group, and you can join the group there and post all your cigar pictures on there as well. And figured I had some input from people in the live smokes that I've been doing, and people said, hey, why don't you start a group? So I started a group, and so go on over there and join the group, and hopefully we'll get some nice conversation and discussion on stuff. It's basically a cigar group, so don't do any spamming or try and promote or anything like that or sell cigars. It's not that. It's just a group so people can talk about stuff and exchange information and so on and so forth. So if you have any cigar questions, make sure that you email them to me at dude90077@gmail.com. And I have an Instagram account as well, and that's dude90077. So head on over there and follow me on Instagram as well, because that's a good way to kind of get an idea of where I'm at. And if I post something if I'm in your area, I'll be more than happy to smoke a cigar with you in the future. But all in all, I'd have to say that this cigar was rather nice and rather pleasant to smoke. One other thing too as well on this cigar is that the nicotine on this thing is pretty heavy. Glad I was drinking a Coke with it. And if you kind of feel a little queasy or whatever it is, it's good to have a Coke or some chocolate or something like that you can chew on. Kind of get you back in balance. Kind of takes away a bit of that nicotine buzz in the cigar. So definitely go for that. Yeah, because smoking cigars, you don't want to get sick. You just want to enjoy the cigar. So anyway, I've rambled on enough, and that's enough out of me.